Packets. I think we're back. So it's good now. Anticipation. Oh no, more ads for Ray. No. Oh no, I like trying not to have too many ads, but I can't stop ones at the start of the stream. It's just luck of the draw, I think. Luck of the draw. The internet does not want us to hear these things. So, anyway, JJ has got an account with an AI thing. They do a lot of machine learning. They work with robots and hand sensing and things. Anyway, I asked JJ if they could plug in to, and this was the plugin. Write a scathing Guardian review of Twitch streamer DJ Nerd. And here was the response. If you enjoy watching paint dry, then you'll love DJ Nerd's Twitch stream. Boring, repetitive, and mind-numbingly dull, DJ Nerd's stream is the perfect way to watch the minutes slowly tick by. Whether it's watching him play the same game for hours on end, or listening to him ramble on about nothing in particular, there's nothing on offer here that will capture your attention for more than a few seconds. In short, if you're looking for a way to waste your time, then DJ Nerd Stream is the perfect place to do it. Fucking Guardian. But JJ was going through some of the other stuff they put into the AI. And they were actually putting in stuff like Jar Jar Binks in Jar Jar Binks' dialect. And they asked for an extract from Jar Jar Binks' memoir in which Jar Jar Binks describes their first sexual experience. And they didn't read the whole thing to us, just the line, "Ever since that day, I have been addicted to doing the horizontal Gungan boogie." Just leave that one to simmer in your brains, folks. The horizontal Gungan boogie. The main thing about my huge tracks of lag is that chat is not lag, so I can see things happening in man's relative to street. Horizontal Gunga Boogie. Oh, did I even do that on the mic? Oh, bless you. Anyway, if we get $100, we can buy a mask. I think we've looked at everything in here, right? Let's try the Voodoo Museum.
Welcome, my friend. Hello. I am the proprietor, Dr. John. If you have any questions, I will be happy to assist.
Great. My name is Knight, and I'll probably take you up on that.
Alright, let's first put a save in. I think now's a good time for a save. Hi, Dr. John. Hi, everybody. It's Dr. John, and he doesn't have Michael Dorn's voice. Again, wrong sounding Muppets.
A street drummer has settled outside the museum.
Cunning, that. There's a knife.
Something about the shape of that knife gives Gabriel the creeps.
Ah, beat you to it. Light pot.
Gabriel doesn't want anything to do with that knife. The back wall displays various voodoo items, such as offerings of fruits to the voodoo deities. That must be Marie Laveau. The back wall, an African statue laden with decorations.
Now, why does that remind me of Grace?
Gabe. Stop it, Gabe. What else?
The back wall bottles of liquor and wine.
Very voodoo.
The back, lots of burning candles. The back, a gaudy shell necklace.
Oh, how gaudy.
The back, a Cupid statue.
It's nice to know voodoo has a romantic side.
Of course, Gabe.
An authentic-looking pole marks the center of the room. Authentic what? Gabriel isn't sure.
Ah, the wishing stump. I think this is going to get a bit wrong.
An official voodoo wishing stump. Rub it and make a wish, a card says.
Funny, I say the same thing to women.
And how many slaps in the face do you get for that one? Good grief. I mean, it's worth it just for everyone's reactions, isn't it? It's like, oh my god! Let's make it worse.
I wish Malia Getty were mine forever. Really, I mean it.
What was that?
Oh, nothing.
Why are you like this, Gabe?
The pole is solidly connected to the floor.
I wish Malia Getty was permanently grafted to my thighs.
I'm not sure you'd want someone to be actually grafted to you.
Flickering candles lend an appropriately spooky atmosphere to the museum.
Reminds me of a book critic for the New York Times. Looks like Jack Nicholson.
The voodoo shrine is filled with items that both fascinate Gabriel and also make his skin crawl.
We were up in arms about that the first time around. Now we're just like, oh, fuck's sake, Gabe.
They lend a certain psychotic ambiance, no? Will that look sacrilegious?
Yep. Got another point.
Wonder who that poor bastard was.
If he says it often enough, he may end up with a stump.
Magenta Moonbeam. Voodoo Inn.
A flyer advertising Magenta Moonbeam, a local voodoo inn. Her parlor is on the corner of Orleans and Dauphine.
It wouldn't be much of a voodoo museum without a voodoo doll.
Who cut the arms off a voodoo doll that resembled a Republican president from long ago. Sorry, I'm doing more They Might Be Giants lyrics.
This coffin is so small.
Mm-hmm.
This coffin is so small.
Is that it for around here? I think it is. Oh, there's wine.
A waste of some perfectly good wine, if you ask me.
Right. Oh, a whip.
A leather whip hangs from a peg on the wall.
On a peg.
Hurt me.
Oh, Gabe, you. Oh, it doesn't surprise me, to be honest, Gabe.
A beaded gourd is on display.
A snake.
very large, very formidable-looking snake is secured in a plexiglass cage.
Oh, yeah, which I remember.
What does this do?
Turn that thing off.
Oh, sorry.
We have air conditioning, you see.
Yeah, I see.
Sends a snake wild. Snakes and vibrations. Remember we read that?
Gabriel doesn't recognize the museum's flags.
Do you have a flag?
The back wall displays various voodoo items, such as offerings of fruits to the voodoo deities.
I think we're kind of like looping around things, aren't we? Oh, hey.
Large, elaborate drums occupy a corner of the museum.
Alright, let's have a chat with Dr. John. Actually, no, let's save the game, then have a chat with Dr. John.
Could I ask you a few questions?
That is why I am here.
What do you know about voodoo in the Voodoo Museum?
What can you tell me about voodoo?
Historical voodoo, or the voodoo currently practiced in the city?
Tell me about historical voodoo.
Very well. I will start at the beginning, Mr. Knight, and will go on from there at your prompting.
Bit of
Sounds
a
good.
meta.
As you may know, voodoo is a grassroots religion, formed by the mixing together of many different African tribal religions and Anglo religions, such as Catholicism or Protestantism. In other words, it is a religion born of the African slave trade. But African slaves were imported not only by the United States, but also into the West Indies, where the French and Spanish ran plantation islands. Prior to 1803, the New Orleans area was owned by France. The French Creole in those days owned many African slaves. But the Creole did not permit their slaves to gather, giving no chance for voodoo to breed here natively. The Creole also knew enough about the corrupted pagan practices of the West Indies slaves to ban the importings of slaves from that region.
So, how did voodoo come to New Orleans?
After the Louisiana Purchase, American legislators relaxed regulations. Slaves were permitted to gather. The Americans also removed the ban on West Indies slaves. Around the same time, a slave revolt occurred in Santo Domingo, what is now Haiti. Between the lifting of the ban and the Haitian Revolt, West Indies slaves began pouring into New Orleans. Some of them were free people of color, freed or escaped slaves. Some came with their white owners who were fleeing from the revolt.
What happened when the West Indies slaves got here?
They brought voodoo with them. The native slaves were more than enthusiastic about embracing it. It gave them power, Mr. Knight, if only in the form of a communal bond. Among the first meeting places were the Bayou St. John and the Shore of Lake Pontchartrain. The early voodoos were heavy snake worshippers, worshipping the one they called the Great Zombie.
Tell me more about historical voodoo.
By 1817,
Hope you're
the
taking
voodoo
notes, class.
activities were beginning to cause fear among the white slave owners. An ordinance was passed to forbid slave gatherings except in designated public areas at designated times. The time was Sunday afternoons, and the place, Congo Square. The slaves and free people of color gathered to dance simulations of their voodoo dances, right in sight of Creole society. Of course, they also continued to meet in private for the real thing.
So much to learn about historical voodoo. I hope we are all taking notes. I'm
Tell
not.
me more about historical voodoo.
There were a variety of kings and queens at first, voodoo priests and priestesses. But from about 1830, a single power emerged.
That late in the afternoon.
This was a voodoo queen named Marie Laveau. Marie Laveau ruled voodoo in New Orleans for many years.
Bling, ding, ding, ding.
Tell me about current voodoo.
Many people think of voodoo in terms of magic spells or gree-gree. That kind of practice is actually called hoodoo and is only a part of true voodoo. Voodoo, the religion, has a strong following in New Orleans. In fact, it is growing quite rapidly. There are several voodoo churches or temples in the city, and others all across the United States. African Americans see it as a tradition all their own. Whites, and there are many in the religion, are attracted to it because they think it is exotic. I personally am more interested in the history of voodoo. Some of the new movements are copying Haitian or even African voodoo, but it is the voodoo of New Orleans that I find so intriguing.
Bling, ding, ding, ding. So we've still got historical voodoo on here, but it's grayed out. But let's go through some of the other stuff. What do you know about the voodoo murders?
What do you know about the voodoo murders?
The killings in the newspaper. I know they have nothing to do with true voodoo in New Orleans.
What makes you think the voodoo murders aren't being done by local practitioners?
Voodoo is a popular boogeyman, Mr. Knight, especially in New Orleans. Anyone can pretend to use it, just as anyone can pretend to be a black belt in karate. And for the same reason, to intimidate. I know voodoo in this city, Mr. Knight, and believe me, it is not about killing. Even the police have stated that the killings have nothing to do with local voodoo.
Yeah, but
So you know nothing about the voodoo murders case?
I neither know nor care to know, Mr. Knight. My only possible interest is in how it might affect the public's attitude towards the museum. So far, it has not been an issue. No one has even had the bad taste to bring it up. Until you, that is.
yep, bad taste, that's us all around.
What do you think of New Orleans?
It is the only city in the United States, as far as I am concerned.
You should get out more.
What is it about New Orleans that you so admire?
It has a real culture of its own, Mr. Knight. Amid the horrid blandness that is Americana, New Orleans alone has a voice.
Spoken like a true New Orleanian.
I like the blandness of Americana. Also likes the blandness of Americana.
What can you tell me about St. John's Eve?
It is one of the important ceremonial nights in voodoo.
What else can you tell me about St. John's Eve?
I am afraid I do not know the origins of St. John's Eve. I only know that it was a night of ritual long before voodoo came to New Orleans.
Blandness of Americana. Alright, let's ask about the other sexy phrase. Cabri Sankor.
Do you know what Capri Sankor means?
Doesn't say
I
it's sexy.
fear my French is not all it should be, Mr. Knight.
Do you know anything about snakes?
Ah, you have perhaps noticed the museum snake, Mr. Knight?
That big murderer
They
behind
are
your head?
beautiful
Yes.
creatures. Do you not agree? And the tourists seem to associate them with voodoo.
Is this snake yours? Do you use it in your practice of voodoo?
I admire the spirit of the snake, Mr. Knight. But snakes like the museums can be quite dangerous to handle.
You didn't really answer my question.
I think I did, Mr. Knight.
Do you know anything about animal masks?
I used to have some antique African totem masks, but they were on the point of disintegration, so I removed them.
Of course.
Are you sure you can't educate me further about animal masks?
Unfortunately, I do not know much about totem masks. The practice was more African than American, and that is not my area of expertise.
Okay, thanks. Tell me about yourself.
Me?
Yes, if you don't mind.
What is it you wish to learn?
Why did you open a voodoo museum?
The subject has fascinated me all my life, and I wanted to help preserve the cultural heritage it represents.
What kind of background in voodoo do you have?
Let us just say I cut my teeth on it, Mr. Knight. It is in my blood.
Do you do anything besides run the museum?
No, the museum does not make me a rich man, but my material needs are simple. I prefer to focus on my one true interest in life.
Model trains.
What are your own religious beliefs?
My beliefs are too personal and too complex to discuss with a layman, Mr. Knight.
Just tell me anything.
I am originally from the West Indies myself, you know.
Really? What brought you to New Orleans?
I was drawn here for personal reasons.
Just tell me anything.
I am a vegetarian.
Really? I can't imagine living without meat.
That must be the hunter in you, Mr. Knight.
Ooh, foreshadowing.
Just tell me anything.
I am not an easy person to get to know. I am a very private man.
Isn't that unusual for someone in the museum business?
Not at all. My displays speak for me.
He's just said he's a very private man.
Just tell me anything.
Not everyone can come see the museum, so I occasionally do public speaking on the subject of historical voodoo.
Anything coming up that I might attend?
No. But then you have me all to yourself right now, do you not?
Actually, I can't think of a thing.
Then let us discuss something else.
Tell me about Marie Laveau.
There were actually two Marie Laveaux, mother and daughter. Most people thought they were the same woman. Her continued youth added to the mystique.
Yeah, good trick him
The
and pull it
original,
off.
the mother, was also known as Widow Paris. It was she that began the empire.
Tell me more about Marie Laveau.
The Laveau tomb, where one or both of the Maries are believed to be buried, is in St. Louis Cemetery No. 1. It is a popular shrine for practitioners and tourists alike. I myself take tours through the cemetery on a regular basis.
Really? Do you have any running this week?
No, but the cemetery is open to the general public as well.
Bling, ding, ding, ding.
What exactly is hoodoo?
Hoodoo refers to magic folk traditions of the South. Hoodoo is a bastard of voodoo. Many of the Gris-Gris are similar, but hoodoo does not have the religious aspects of voodoo.
Are you sure you can't tell me anything about voodoo?
I've given you as much detail as I can, Mr.
No,
Knight.
boring.
Look around the museum if you desire more information.
So how's the museum business?
Those who truly seek to understand are few, Mr. Knight. But even one can be an audience.
Sounds about like my shop. So where do you pick up all this stuff?
Oh, here and there. We accept donations of any pertinent items.
Do you ever get any wackos in here?
You?
You mean, besides yourself?
Hey.
Yeah, besides me.
I do not care to make those kinds of judgments, Mr. Knight. All are welcome here.
You're a big guy, aren't you? Do you work out, play sports?
I do not play basketball, if that is what you want to know.
Who, me? No, you just look like such a natural athlete.
I do find ways of keeping fit, Mr. Knight. After all, our bodies are temples.
I think that was flirting. But, you know, like they got better at it by the second game. Is gay flirting? Oh, yes, he is. It's not as good as the second game. That was definitely some ace flirting with the werewolf fascist guy.
You sound like Grace. I should get the two of you together.
Is Grace your wife?
No, she just acts like it.
Fuck off, Gabe. Don't ask me. I can't spoil flirting if it comes at me with a hammer. Oh no, everyone's going to start bonking Kathy now.
So what do you think of our summer weather? Have you ever seen it so overcast or so muggy?
It is unpleasant. The heavens are not pleased these days.
You can tell he's not a real museum creator because he voluntarily stops talking about the topic of choice. This is true.
Nice outfit.
I prefer simple cotton to dead flesh, Mr. Knight.
All
I'll have
right.
to remember that.
Rub it in, you're a vegetarian.
This is quite a place you have here.
Thank you, Mr. Knight. I have dedicated myself to the preservation of this unique culture. It is gratifying to see others reap the fruits I have sown.
All right, we've done everything with this guy. I was just like, what's going on? Oh yes, of course. It's the thing in the game. Quick move teleports. Alright. Hey folks, guess what? It's been 2 hours. It flies by. But we got into day 2 and we've had a good old chat with Dr. John. We got lots to explore. We got this thing. We got a flyer.
A flyer advertising
Magenta Moonbeam.
a local voodooienne.
No looking at it any closer. Start walking around. Rub the stump, Gabe. Rub the stump.
I wish I had $1 million.
Well, that was a decent, good old-fashioned wish there, huh? I'd rather torture foreign peasants than cows. Alrighty, Rick. Okay, right. Let's hit the quit button there. Let's go. Yes, I do want to exit the game. Let's go back to full cam. Let's put some music on. Should have got the jazz playlist since we're doing New Orleans. Let's have a look. Who's about for a raid? Who's about for a raid? Emmy started ages ago. I've got a feeling if we go and raid Emmy, they're just going to finish, right? Ollie's on. Just chatting, which means that they're never going to play a game. Emmy's busy fishing. Alluring Allegro's on, who's another friend of Meowster, and in the Meowster circle. They're playing Fall Guys. Shall we go and see Allegro? Why not? Why not? Makes for change, doesn't it? I'm just going to be able to spell both Alluring and Allegro correctly, but I think I've got that right. Yeah, Alluring does seem like a nice bond. But yeah, what? Oh, Rick's... Fall Guys, always a bit daft. There's the raid message. Got that in. Thank you very much, Ray, for getting that out there. We are the Nerd and we're coming to town. Beep, beep. So, next Friday then, most likely, for more Gabe fun. See how long we can milk this one. Yeah, thanks for hanging out, folks. You lot are lovely. But you know that, don't you? You know that. Yeah, we'll go and see Alluring Allegro, have a good time with them, and then yeah, I'll see you next Friday. So look after yourselves, be safe. To use deep into the history of slavery, you should know what cotton is about. Damn right, Rick. Alrighty, folks. Yeah, we're gonna see Alluring Allegro. You lot have been lovely. I've told you that, but I'm gonna keep telling you that because you are lovely. And yeah, I'll see you all on Friday. Otherwise, you know where to find me. Twitter, Discord. I'm about. You lot lovely. Mwah! You're lovely. You're lovely. I just love you guys. You're so lovely. Let's go see Allegro. Bye.
Sorry,